Hello and welcome to episode 1226 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, October 27th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Start of the World Series. We're a week away from less than a week away from FPADs.
I know. And you're falling under the weather.
I am. Yeah.
What are you doing?
I don't know. Went on vacation last week. I've got a week of work before I go on vacation again. And my body just said, you know what? You've had enough.
This is too much.
Mm-hmm.
This is too much. It's funny. I mentioned to you that I don't think I'm sick or anything, but I was kind of worried and nervous. Like, dang, am I just fatigued and I really needed a long sleep to kind of recover? Or am I about to fall sick? Because I slept a ton yesterday, and I'm a 5-6 hour max kind of guy. Can't stay in the bed too long. My body freezes up like the Tin Man, basically, with my rickety ass back. But yeah, I got a ton of sleep. I feel good right now, so I hope it's not the beginning of something. Hopefully you get well soon. I saw your TJ Friedel jersey came in the mail.
Yeah.
So that has to make you feel a little bit better, even
That
if your
felt
body.
pretty good.
Yeah, even if your body's not cooperating, your Friedel jersey has to make you happy. Your Sean Bouchard one should be there soon. Yes,
I'm hoping both of mine because I accidentally ordered two. But
that's right. And then we'll figure out how to deal with the other one if
we'll
they
give
both
one
get
away
there.
at FPAS if they get here in time. So they're coming from China, so who knows how long?
Who even knows? Who even knows if they'll get here and how long? I've definitely been on that. When I worked at Dell, we would do like gigantic orders, a group of us of, very legal, 100% directly from Mitchell and Ness jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
It's just their Chinese store is better. So
yeah.
That's why we order from there.
Fully licensed material.
Losers order from Mitchell and Ness in Philadelphia. Oh, you want to order from the original store? Okay, loser. I like to support the little pop-up Mitchell and Ness shops. Okay, let's not get ourselves in too much trouble here. Let's talk about some second half breakout pitchers. Now, we talked about hitters on Monday. We got a group of pitchers here. Different type of group too. Some guys just broke out after bad first halves. Some guys got even better after decently solid or even very good first halves. And then some guys didn't really pitch in the first half, or in the case of one guy, didn't start in the second half or in the first half and then became a starter down the stretch. You could probably guess who that is, and I want to talk about him. So nice little mix of guys here. They're going to go in all sorts of different rounds. Let's start at the top with a guy who we've been around the block with 1,000 times in different capacities. Both of us have probably been on the hate train. And I will say for me, I was on the love train this year with Nick Pivetta because I got all the good Nick Pivetta. I got so much of that great version of Nick Pivetta that went off down the stretch after a 4.83 ERA and a 1.29 whip with a 17% strikeout minus walk rate in the first half. Pivetta went 3.30, 0.96, and 29% on the ERA, whip, and strikeout minus walk rate. That's an incredible run. Again, this is a guy who's been promoted for potential breakout so many times over. Here he is languishing in the Red Sox bullpen. No one's thinking about him, and he pulls off this miracle run. At age 31, is Nick Pivetta emerging, or is this just a great run like we've seen before, and we can't get fooled again?
It's always so hard to tell. I lean towards this is just a great run, but it was a really, really great run, and a lot of the underlying numbers support kind of what he did. We had a nice spike in swing strike rate, nice spike in O swing. The pitches looked really good, but we've seen this from Nick Pivetta before, and so I don't want to be Charlie Brown trying to kick the football with him. A lot of it'll just be determined based on where he goes in drafts. If he's going.
Did you have that fear in season about the Charlie Brown?
Absolutely.
Okay, so maybe you were reluctant to jump on him. And by the way, just because I had him doesn't mean I can't remember my mind state when I got him. I don't even think he was my top guy. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I knew I was in. I ended up getting him, I think, as a backup to one of the hot rookies that week and was like, okay. Oh, no, actually, that was the week Scooble came back. And I didn't really have the money to go big on Scooble. And so I ended up with Pivetta on the cheap at $18 on July 9th. And I was like, I don't know. It's a pitcher. He's alive. So that made you skeptical in season. And like you said, we have seen this. You can parse out a 8 to 10 start stretch throughout some of his Philly time, maybe even some of his previous Boston time. I'm sure because he put up a 4.56 ERA last year and a 4.53 back in 2021. There's good runs within those 2 seasons. I think because of all the pain we've been through as a fantasy community with Pivetta, his price is not going to be crazy. I'm seeing 215 ADP here in the 4 drafts at the NFBC.
215 is
that sit with you?
around, some pretty interesting pitchers, though. It is literally right behind Clayton Kershaw.
Which I'm going to take Kershaw because here's the thing. I'm going to miss innings, but they're always going to be good when he's pitching. With Pivetta, I don't know what the hell I'm getting.
Right behind Savali.
Who I also am a big fan of, yes.
Not very far behind, Rodon.
Yeah, what about Rodon there at 208?
That feels like a steal.
It feels like it, yes.
I think it all depends on what your roster construction, your rotation looks like
sure.
when you get to that point. But Carlos Rodon in like the 12th, 13th round feels like just an absolute steal.
Feels like something I want to be part of, at least on a couple teams, but not to distract from Pivetta here. Okay, so also worth pointing out that he started in. Go ahead.
I was just saying, even guys going behind him, Taj Bradley, Brian Bayo, Nick Lodolo, Tristan McKenzie,
but they all carry substantial risk too, right? They're younger. I don't think that inherently makes them higher upside though, because we saw what this upside is from Pivetta.
Sure.
One thing I was going to point out though was he was doing a lot of bulk relief. Does that change your outlook on this at all? Do you think that's easier? Do you think that undercuts it in any way if he has to start fully next year? He did start down the stretch. The final 5 outings were traditional starts with solid results. In fact, his last 2, he went 7 scoreless against the White Sox and the Orioles. So he went a 2.37 ERA in 30 1/3 with 5 traditional starts down the stretch there. I mean, you mentioned the underlying numbers give a lot to back up here. Do you believe in this, or does the bullpenning worry you? Like, what are your grave concerns here with Pivetta?
Well, it's a new general manager, so kind of a new organizational philosophy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that matters nearly as much as, I think they'll put the best 5 guys in the rotation. They're not bringing in a new general manager to not win. I think they want to win. So if he is one of the best 5 arms, I think he is probably in that rotation, at least to start. So the question is, do the Red Sox type of thing and go out and get another arm? Because if they try to add to that rotation, then Pivetta's probably in the bullpen.
Maybe. I mean, you got Houck, Cutter Crawford. I like Bayo. I mean, obviously, Sale has a job if he's upright, but that's a big if. You still got Garrett Whitlock in the bullpen. Is that officially done with the starting? Do they move on there? Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, though. If they go get somebody big, you are wondering, like, do they take out the veteran Pivetta? Do they go with the younger guy Houck and just put him in the bullpen because he's kind of, very splitty with his sidearm delivery? I don't know.
He's also a free agent after the end of next season. So, he's one of those guys where they can try to build up his value as a starter, and then knowing that they may not be in the playoff race as their team is currently constructed, try to flip him. So
yeah, they could flip Pivetta I think that makes some sense where it's like, okay, we've built up his value. Now here's another half season of quality work. That's a full year basically. And then we get a nice piece.
People are always looking for pitching. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, when he's at his best, Nick Pivetta looks like an absolute beast. It's just that when he's off, it's usually home runs galore, and that's the quickest way to tank an ERA. I say it all the time because it's the truth, and you have to worry about that with Pivetta because when he's off, it's 2-3 run homers in a game, and you're like, wow, 6 earned in 3 innings. Cool. At least he had 6 strikeouts somehow. I don't know. I think the price is okay. I don't think it's egregious. I hear you when you're saying there's a lot of guys around him that you're interested in, but I think he's in that mix. I'm as interested in him as I am in most of those guys that we named.
I think he's probably a little bit below those guys, but that may just be like PTSD trauma from years of trying to make Nick Pivetta happen.
You know what's interesting? Brandon fought going even later there, 247, playoff hero.
Do you think
And
he's
then-
gonna after
No,
these playoff games? No, I think
No.
he's
moving up.
gonna be like the post hype wide awake sleeper.
the playoff tax guy.
Yeah.
What do you think? My boy Christopher Sanchez at 250. What do you think of the guy going in between fought and Christopher Sanchez? Paul Skeens at 248. Now, don't forget, you have to factor in he starts off as a Paul S, which automatically puts him way
Yeah.
up here. Like
Right,
he's
yeah.
already like sky high. But where
Mhm.
you 248 for rookie Paul Skeens? What do you think about that?
So I want to caution people about early ADP, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about 4 drafts that
Yes.
factor into the current ADP as we're talking Friday morning. Last time we talked 3 drafts, and there was another guy, Wyatt Langford, who's got a really, really high ADP. Well, one of the guys who drove up that Wyatt Langford high ADP is just James Anderson, who took him really high in a draft, and then has said on his podcast, go listen to his most recent podcast with John Fish over on RotorWire. Like, he said that's a mistake. He's not going to do that again. Like, he doesn't think he needs to do that.
But it's already
One-
influencing he took him 127, and now all of a sudden you're looking at a 150 ADP in 4 drafts for Langford.
Yeah. So, yes, these early ADPs are very skewed by 1 or 2 drafts. And
Mhm.
I think that'll come back down to earth. That being said, I think Skeens is likely going to move very quickly. He looks pretty major league ready. I think there is a chance that he debuts and potentially early on in the season. Where'd you say it was?
248 for Skeens.
248 doesn't seem outrageous. I don't think I would pull the trigger there. I think that is too high for me, but I can understand why people are.
This is just the first one I've looked at. I haven't gone through and tried to pull a bunch of names because that's not what we're focused on today. But do you think this year's crazy success of rookies and the literal 1 a week minimum that we were getting to bid upon, is that going to have a trickle effect in these DCs where we're going to see a lot more rookies being taken, and not only taken, because of course they get taken in a 50 round draft and hold, but much higher? Like, do you think this Skeens is indicative of what we might see with these rookie pitchers? And by rookie, I mean have never appeared in the majors. Guys like Tanner Bybee last year, Gavin Williams, guys that we had not seen in the majors at all. Do you think they're going to jump up, or is Skeens an outlier because he was the 1-1?
Yeah, I think Skeens is an outlier because he's 1-1. We may see more guys jump up, but I think that is a mistake. I think what we saw last year was indicative of 2 things. One, just kind of a really amazing year for rookie pitching, right? I just think that a lot of talent came into the league in a way that I don't ever remember seeing.
No.
From like top to bottom from rookie class. I mean, we've seen years where a lot of rookie pitchers debut, but not that debut.
I think it's been building, right? Because 2 years ago was a great rookie class with a lot of hitters, and then last year was a lot of the pitchers. Like, things
it usually
are moving
comes
up.
with hitting, though. Pitching is so
Yeah.
much more difficult. I think what helped that is the second part of it is there were a lot of injuries last year, and we
Yes.
got to a point where, I don't think a guy like Brian Wu even sniffs the majors as a starter, if not for the amount of injuries that Seattle went through. And I think
And
there are a
he-
number of other guys.
Well, because he skipped AAA. To your point, he skipped AAA there, and so after 44 innings at AA, they're like, you know what? You're 23.
Yeah.
You look great. You're ready. Come on up. And he acquitted himself well. Brian Wu did.
So how much of that is kind of an indirect or even a direct result of the rule changes causing more pitching injuries? And our pitchers,
The
is this
clock, you
going to
mean?
is this going to be a more common thing or are pitchers going to adjust physically, right?
I think
They now
some will.
know like what to expect,
Mhm.
and they can now prepare better for that. I would expect maybe a little bit of both. Like the injuries are not going away at a higher rate, but maybe they come down a little bit from this last
That's
year.
what I would think.
Yeah,
I would think they'd come down, like, let's say they were here. They jumped up. Obviously, if you're not watching this, you can't see where I'm moving. But like I see, a decent jump this year because of the pitch clock.
they were
And
at a
then
9
maybe a
this year.
small dip
Yeah,
for people that
adjust.
adjust, and then maybe a little bit of a plateauing here at a new level when, remember, we were down here. So I don't know for sure. I'm just saying, like, maybe that's what we see, because not everyone's going to get fixed by having a year to prepare for the clock. Some of them are still just going to be messed up by the fact that you have to keep the pace going. But I do think we will see some guys adjust and be like, okay, I'm prepared for this now, because part of it's probably some endurance, just straight up endurance of like, this is freaking hard, dude. And then you talk
and
about
maybe
getting
teams start protecting guys a little bit more, like, so
I can definitely see that.
I think everybody's going to readjust and kind of reassess after the rule changes, changing things in every aspect. There's going to be a great panel, First Pitch Arizona, involving those rule changes, including our own Jason Collette. So
wait, that's like you said, less than a week away. Going to be out there. I'm going to be talking about some pitchers myself, so I'm excited for that. Let's wrap up on Pivetta here. So you're I don't think you're full nay, but you're more meh than anything else at his ADP and based on what he did. And I'm probably, if you're like thumb sideways leaning down, I'm thumb sideways leaning up. I don't think either of us are going up or down.
I don't think the price is I don't think the price is going up though. So like.
Yeah,
I think he's one of those guys.
Down.
Yeah, he could go down, and if it goes down enough, and we're talking about him versus Kyle Harrison, and versus Reese Olson, and versus Carter Crawford, like that's when I start going, okay, I could get some sprinkled shares of Nick Pivetta.
And that's around the 250 mark there with that pick. Yeah. So keep an eye on Pivetta's price. I do think you will get some drafts where he's down there, and then Justin and I can end up with him. By the way, I don't know if it was James Anderson himself or a James Anderson type substance, picked him 177 for Pivetta, which is raising his ADP because his low is 294. So we have a high, a low, and I wonder where the other two are there to set that 215 for Pivetta. So I do think you might be able to get him a good bit cheaper than 215 consistently. Let's move over to one of the rookies from last year who had a really interesting season, had the total like, who's this guy, not ready for the majors in the first half, to, oh my God, he has arrived and he's a god in the second half. And that, of course, is Grayson Rodriguez of the Baltimore Orioles. First half, 7.34 ERA, 174 whip, 17% strikeout minus walk with a 372 BABIP. And I highlight that BABIP on purpose, of course, because you're going to learn that he had a 258 ERA, 110 whip, and the same 17% strikeout minus walk rate in the second half. But look at this, the BABIP goes down from 372 to 293. So we saw the same core skills as far as strikeout and walk rate, but a colossal dip in the BABIP. Was he not quite as good, or was he better than we thought in the first half and then not quite as good in the second? I mean, 293 BABIP isn't really even that crazy low, though. That's kind of average. Or was he just always like really good and just super unlucky in the first half, and now he's arrived? Where do you come out on Grayson Rodriguez after his brilliant finish to the year?
I think he was always really good, and just pretty unlucky in the first half. I do want to point out, though, if you want to see exactly where guys were picked, go to on NFBC, go to their player page, and there is a plot chart.
They already have the plots out?
Yeah, and now it's much easier to see where those plots are because there's only 4 drafts. So 5 if you actually date back to 9:30. So,
oh yeah. You know what's interesting about that? If you go back to 9:30, sorry to go back to Pivetta real quick, but his min is actually 143 on that September 30th draft. Mm-hmm. And then his high, actually the 294 high, that's the outlier here. He has 143, 196, 177, and 193 in the other 4. So maybe I'm wrong on Pivetta. The 294 is dragging the price down. Now, I do agree with Justin saying that the price could come down on him, but it might only come closer to like 220, not 250.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Anyway, Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think he was always good. And I think he got pretty unlucky. Now he also had some issues in terms of sequencing and not making big mistakes at bad times, right? Sure. Like if you go back and watch some of those first half starts, like he lives in the zone too much when he was behind in the count, just trying to get strikes to, kind of even things up a little bit. And he got punished for it. And but he's got good enough stuff to pretty much live wherever he wants. And he's got a fantastic home park. The problem with Grayson Rodriguez has nothing to do with skill. It's going to have to do with price.
It's have to do with what? I'm sorry.
Price. He's
yeah. He is through the roof.
Extremely expensive, and that may end up putting me out on him more than
he's
any
top
sort of
60
skills issue.
He's top 60 right now, Grayson Rodriguez. Yeah.
I don't
he's
think
58. 58 and a half.
I can't pay that. Like, that's way too high.
By the way, I should point out, I highlighted the BABIP, which was of course extreme. Home runs were also a major difference in the first and second half for Grayson Rodriguez. In that May, which is really when he fell apart and got demoted because he didn't even pitch in the majors in June, he allowed multi-home runs in 4 of his 5 May starts. So the home run rate dropping, let's see here, it was 2.6 homers per 9 in the first half, down to a casual 0.4 homers per 9 in the second half. So he really tightened up the home runs. The command got so much better for Grayson Rodriguez, and he really took off. Yeah, like you said, living in the zone, but now figuring out how to be better in the zone, and he just absolutely went off. So the price is scaring you off. Can I ask maybe a little bit deeper as to why, given how good he was, though, and this is a premium prospect on a great team? Isn't everything here for the colossal breakout?
It's just track record. Like, I'll give me guys going behind him. Pablo Lopez, give me Pablo Lopez. Aaron Nola, give me Aaron Nola. Blake Snell, I'll take Rodriguez.
Nola and Snell, new places. Almost certainly.
But I mean, no matter where.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just pointing out that they're free agents. I don't think it changes much one way or the other. I just want to point out
for
that
Nola, wherever he ends up is going to be better than Philadelphia in terms of a
should be. And defense.
And the opposite could be true for San Diego.
It's a good call.
And Blake Snell. So, but even a guy like Kodai Senga.
I was going to say him next, because I totally agree. You get about 20 pick or 15 pick difference 1 round later. Give me Kodai Senga. I think I got to go Senga.
In San Francisco, Justin Steele in Chicago, Tariq Skubal, we've talked about. Tariq Skubal's going. I went the wrong way. So Tariq Skubal's going ahead of Grayson Rodriguez. But Max Fried at 84?
Yeah.
Give me that all day. I think he should be going in the Bobby Miller area, which is around pick 100.
I think that's fair. In fact, I'm going to alter the list on you a little bit. I'm going to move up his teammate, because his teammate, Kyle Bradish, is going 94th. So you talk about from 58 to 94 here, from Grayson Rodriguez to Kyle Bradish. I'm not so sure I wouldn't rather have Bradish at the cheaper price. Now, he was great in the first half as well, but his second half was insane. That's why I put him on this list, because he really got on everyone's radar after that. I think, the people who loved him and were talking about him, they knew about what was going on in the first half, but then the second half was nuts. He went 332, 118, 16% strikeout minus walk in the first half for Bradish, 234, 091, and 21% strikeout minus walk in the second half for Bradish. He just went next level nuclear there, and he and Rodriguez were a dynamic 1-2 punch atop that rotation for them. Do you believe in Bradish's breakout? Is he here? Has he arrived? You're muted.
I was so excited I forgot to unmute myself. Yeah, he is. Like, Bradish is here. Like, Bradish, of all the guys we're going to talk about, Bradish may be the guy I end up with the most.
I love his price. It's obviously higher than last year, but I don't think it's egregious, especially with all the guys that we just named. I think pick 94, I'm totally okay with that.
And maybe it's a little bit of bias because he was so instrumental in my good season.
I had him last year too, and that's fair. We might have a little bias toward him, but he's in that park, which protects him. One of the things I think we don't talk about enough with a good park like Baltimore. Obviously we talk way too much about like how surprising it is and drawing to us that we even talk about Camden being a good park, but as being a pitcher's park,
is one of the things that a pitcher's park helps a pitcher with is not having those blow up innings, right? because those blow up innings typically come from a lack of control that loads the bases and then a home run. And you're just not afraid of a home run, and gives you pitchers an opportunity to get out of that bad inning.
Because you can attack still. You don't have to pick, you don't have to nitpick and try to hit every little corner when you start getting in trouble. That's a great point. The cascading effect. Okay, you allow 2 runners on with a couple base hits. In neutral or hitters parks, you're terrified now. You're backed into a corner. In Camden, especially if you got some righties coming up, you're attacking. If you get me, you get me because you had to traverse that wall. So I'm going to still be able to attack and hopefully not walk you. And that's Bradish's, that's Bradish's game for sure because he only had a 7% walk rate. That's fantastic. I love that from him. So yeah, I think that's a great call about Bradish being in that park. I totally believe in him, and I think we're going to see another great year this year.
I agree.
All right, let's move on to our next guy then. This is a guy I couldn't buy into fully. I was just nervous because of his history. And in fact, a teammate of his a former teammate of his, actually, were they ever on Toronto? I'm talking about Robbie Ray. Were Kikuchi and Ray together, or did they leave? Okay. So they were in Toronto together. It was that same sort of effect when Robbie Ray was breaking out and eventually won the Cy Young. I could never fully get bought in because of the homers and the history of his homers. With Kikuchi last year, he cut into the homers pretty substantially. 4.24 ERA, 1.29 WHIP, 18% strikeout minus walk with a 2.1 homer 9 in the first half. Then he goes 3.39, 1.25, 21% with a 0.6 homer 9. He actually stifled the homers. Like I said, it took me a while to really buy in because even those first few starts, I'm like, it's coming. A 4-homer game is coming. I know it. It never came, Justin. He allowed multiple homers in just one of his last, I think, 15 starts. 20 starts. I undersold him. I'm sorry. One of his last 20 starts for Kikuchi did he allow multiple homers after allowing five times in his first 12. Is Kikuchi fixed? Is he finally arrived? Because this is a guy who gets spring hype each of the 5 years he's been in the majors because he looks amazing. He's throwing 99, and then the season starts and he's a home run derby pitcher. What's going on with Yusei Kikuchi? What do you say about Kikuchi?
I don't think he's fixed.
Lucky home run rate, you think?
Yeah, I think he got pretty lucky in the home run rate.
Okay. I think that's a fair answer, by the way.
Yeah, like we saw a bunch of Toronto players struggle with home runs.
Oh my God, yeah.
This year. And we focus on the hitter side of things, but we don't talk about the pitcher side of things. You got to wonder if that evens out a little bit. You're talking about, sorry to interrupt you. You're talking about like Vlad having a disastrous home record this year. I think even Chapman was better on the road. And so you're saying what we didn't talk about there was the upside of that for their pitchers. Yeah.
Okay, continue.
And that if we expect guys like Vlad to be better, Bichette to be better, Springer to be better at home just because of some evening out of luck, then we have to expect guys like Barrios and Kikuchi get a little bit more unlucky with the home run rate than they did in 2023. So I just don't trust Kikuchi's ability to be consistent. And maybe this, again, is another Pivetta for me where I've been burned so many times on Kikuchi that I'm not willing to trust, but I think that's okay.
If that's the case, you're saying shrug.
There's so many other pitchers that are going around him that I really, really like that I'm not going to worry about buying back in and being like, oh, I missed last year because I didn't stick with my dude, but I'm back on board.
I think that's a great point because you're acknowledging like he might be there. But it's not somebody I'm going to buy in on. Let the people who've loved Kikuchi think that this is finally his arrival, and I'll be happy to miss on him. And I think that makes sense. So you're not fully downing him. You're not saying it's impossible for him to keep this up. You're just saying, I'm not taking that risk because the downside is still another 5.19 ERA and a 150 WHIP, which is what he did in 2022 for Kikuchi. So, yeah, he'll be 33. There's reasons to be interested in it. I can't get there. I'm right there with you.
It's not a bad price, though. $284.
Ooh, that is pretty fair. I'm actually surprised by that.
He's going right next to Nestor Cortez, which makes it a little bit more difficult to me. But
yeah,
it's a pretty good price.
I mean, my boy Reed Detmers is there at 275. You got Griffin Canning at 313. We're actually going to talk about him in a
Mackenzie Gore at 321.
yeah. Charlie Morton down at 309. You know, his whip has
More
just
price
become
goes up if he resigns.
100%. Yeah. I think you got to have some caution about him possibly just retiring.
Yeah.
So that's holding it down. That's a great call out. What about Luis Severino at 322? You back in on that name? Because
Depends on where he ends up, right?
if you covered the name and just gave the stats, 321 would make sense.
Yeah.
Let me put him in San Diego just randomly.
I'd be all over that.
Okay. And so if he's their bargain replacement
how much
for
I
Snell,
love Luis
I
Severino.
know. That's why I had to
him.
appetize you.
I haven't had him on my teams the last few years, so now he enters the season fully healthy. He's gonna potentially get away from Yankee Stadium. Because he is a free agent.
He is definitely a free agent.
The underlying skills were not as bad. It was all about the home run rate. Like the home run rate. Like if we can just even normalize that to a 1.25, like all of a sudden he becomes a guy that I think is a high threes ERA pitcher with the potential for him to just revert back to being a stud.
Absolutely. I would have a hard time not getting in on Severino in a nice neutral or pitcher friendly spot at that price, especially, and even a little bit higher price. Even if let's say he goes to San Diego and he moves up to pick 275, I'm probably still in type of deal. Let me ask you this about San Diego. I did randomly mention them, but now that I look at it, they might actually be a pretty decent fit for him because they got some work to do with the players they have. Jason Martinez does an excellent job, roster resource, at kind of filling in the gaps here and just kind of still putting together the team as he sees with what they have. For $50, assuming you don't already know this and you're just going to steal $50 from me.
Okay.
Who is their third starter in San Diego right now? It's Musgrove, Darvish, and then of the guys that are in the organization right now, who is their third starter? And I'll Venmo you $50 right now.
I mean, I'm trying to think of dude's name that's been
he pitched this year for them. Like this isn't just some. I'm not trying to get you to name some minor leaguer. He threw 41 and a third.
So it's not Nick Martinez. It's
no. You didn't know him before this year. I guarantee that.
It's Waldron, Matt Waldron.
Yeah. I'll give you 30 because I gave you so many clues.
You can just lose to me in poker at FPAS, and we'll call it even.
No.
Matt Waldron was on both my main event team and my auction team in the final week of the season.
Okay.
Because he was going up against the Giants in San Francisco.
So you knew that's the time to start him. I'll pay your poker buy in there. Because I did give you a lot of clues, but you still got it, and I'm impressed. So I will give you your poker buy-in. So Matt Waldron is their number 3 guy right now. Pedro Avila, Jay Groom are the 4th and 5th.
Yeah, none of those guys are in the rotation to start the season.
Correct, which means they need to go get some guys, and that's why Severino might be.
Well, they have options on both on 3 guys: Seth Lugo, Nick Martinez, and Michael Wacha.
Okay, so I think at least one of them is coming back.
Yeah, they're definitely bringing Lugo back. The option's a player option. He may want to test the market,
especially at $8 million. Lugo can get more than $8 million. I think Nick Martinez has to come back at $16 million. He'd be crazy, right?
I think Wacha has to come back at $18 million.
Are you seeing this though? It's like a club or a team like there's some interesting things here. If they take the club option, it's a 2-year deal at $32 million, or a 2-year $16 million player option.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Wacha.
They have said they want to shave like $50 million off the payroll. So.
Well, then they might be getting rid of both those guys.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that was
I don't know
Yusei
how
Kikuchi.
you don't bring Michael Wacha or Nick Martinez back.
I don't know how you let all 3 of them go. I think you have to figure, like you said, Lugo, it's his option fully. The other one is this player or club option thing that they need to work out with Martinez and Wacha. I agree with you. I don't know how they don't get at least one of those guys back to get them a third starter and then find 2 more guys.
Waldron was really interesting.
He was. Didn't he throw a knuckler?
Yeah, he was a knuckle guy. And he pitched very, very well, especially at home. So, like he could definitely be like their fifth starter.
He could be their 5, not their 3, though.
And I mean, both their 1-2 guys ended up on the IL, right, to end the season. So like
Musgrove and Darvish.
And so like, I mean, there is a world in which all 5 of their starters last year are not on the opening day rotation. So
they still have a huge payroll.
Yeah.
They still have huge expectations.
That Darvish contract is insane. Like I know we've talked about it before.
I know. I love you, Darvish, but that contract made absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or
especially
form,
for a team
that kind of money.
That then decided, like,
that had all these other
after that they want to cut payroll. Like,
yes, you're signing Bogarts, Darvish, and then you're like, we need to save some money.
That is a GM and owner not communicating during the season.
There's some trouble there. You know, they are in serious risk of going 82-80 next year, but actually earning it. Like they probably should have been 92-70 this year with their run differential, maybe even higher. I don't know. But like they were a much better team than their results this year. Next year, they might be 82-80 and fully deserve it and have like a, -2 run differential.
When you've got the Dodgers who are still the Dodgers and now the Baby Snakes who have arrived.
The Baby Snakes, baby. Let's go.
Are you going to the World Series?
I might. Been talking with Eno.
Yeah, I'm not going to make it, but...
You're not going to be able to go because you couldn't get any flights to get there earlier, right? There's going to be a game on Wednesday. We're going to be there for those that don't know.
I could. There's actually a couple like cheap tickets to like get there, but like I just can't rationalize like leaving a day early and being like, and like, hey, Danielle, you just come when our regular, like it would be...
Wait, I thought you're getting there on Wednesday, though.
Oh, I'm getting there Wednesday night.
Oh yeah, that's right. So you'd be
so I would have to take, but there's like a $40 ticket on Frontier.
But it's not just $40 because then it's whatever we pay to get.
Yeah, it's like $500 for whatever.
So I don't know if I'm gonna go. We'll see, but we'll get in there. I'll be there Wednesday afternoon. Could maybe bounce out to the
World Series game.
I have, so that's why it's not as. Or my sister took me for my birthday a couple years ago when it was Houston versus Atlanta. Awesome. It was so awesome. But yeah, it'd be cool. I would like to see it. My Baby Snakes. I like Texas too. This is one where I'm a fence sitter. I want 7 games. I just want, I'm gonna be rooting for whoever's losing because I just want more games because I know it's our last series of the year, and then we get our Arizona Fall League as kind of our squirrel nuts to have over the winter. We get our last share of baseball there. Anyway, we got on some tangents there with Kikuchi. Yay or nay on Kikuchi given his price?
Probably a nay.
Are you another sideways pointing down? Because you did say the price wasn't too bad, even though you're not super into him.
And I mean, when the price is, what do we say, 284, 316, which is his max pick, like that feels like a really fair price. And so, like, in some drafts he's going to go too early, but in other drafts he's going to fall. There are going to be a bunch of people who feel like me who are like, I'd rather take the shot on guys like Dean Kremer or
the aforementioned Seth Lugo
or Mackenzie Gore, Seth Lugo, Ranger Suarez. Oh no, that's Robert Suarez. I was about Ranger Suarez.
You're gonna be really mad.
Yeah, I was gonna be really happy. Like,
that's true. That's true. Yeah, that'd be that's your boy. I was thinking that you're gonna be mad about him not getting his love.
Marcus
but that's just...
Stroman at 337. That feels criminally low.
That does seem bad.
Like, I've seen, I love early ADPs. And this is like, I texted you yesterday or the day before, and it was like, at what point are you going to jump into a draft?
I know, you were already like, hey.
It's shit like this that makes me go, oh, God, I need to get into a draft.
Well, because it's always an interesting market, right? And you're so far away, you can buy things that blow up in your face too, but we see the bargains and we're like, I want to get in on these bargains before things change. I want to play this winter or this fall market because I know it's going to change so much. So I'm with you there, but I was like, you know what? I'm waiting till November, till we get back from FPAS. My first one will be FPAS. Already signed up for that.
Yeah, me
and
too.
Then I'll get into some more DCs when we get home, for sure. So yeah, but I'm with you on Kikuchi, by the way. Again, I'm with you on the sideways thumb, but slightly tilting down. The right price, I'm there. I think your room is going to depend on Pivetta and Kikuchi prices. I think that's a great way to
Yeah.
put it, the way you said that. Let's go to the higher end here, back into the top tier guys. Freddy Peralta, actually going just 2 pitchers above Grayson Rodriguez, who we mentioned earlier. Freddy Peralta was struggling in the first half, but he was one of those guys that if you had been watching him at all, you weren't too worried. His stuff was still nasty, he still looked good, but he had a 4.70 ERA and a 1.30 whip with just a 17% strikeout minus walk. So you had to kind of go on faith. And the fact is, you weren't going to cut him or anything. I'm not saying anybody was anywhere near that, but you were probably bummed, like, this is my guy, my number 2, my number 3, and he's just not performing for me. Well, as long as you were patient, stuck with him, the second half paid off. 2.81 ERA, 0.88 whip, and a 31% strikeout minus walk for Peralta. And the reason I liked them so much for the playoffs was they had all 3 aces cooking. Well, of course, the day before the playoffs start, B. Woody goes out, and short series, the baby snakes got him, and poof, they were gone quickly. But don't let that obscure the fact that Peralta was excellent in the second half. Was it just a hot run, or is there more to come here? I think sometimes we have to be careful not thinking that a second half means more is coming as opposed to just the good part of their season. But with Peralta, it's hard not to think that there could be another level if everything really came together. But is he always just going to be one of these guys that'll go through bouts of command issues? And do you worry about still the size being able to hold up for 30 plus starts? Because this was his first 30 start season, and he only went 165 and 2/3.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more difficult for me because I love everything I saw. I do worry, and this is something I don't think the numbers can illuminate as easily. And so if you don't watch the games, you don't watch him pitch, you don't realize, like, one of the things that makes Peralta so good when he's on is his deception and being able to hide the ball. But those are difficult mechanics to repeat. It's why he goes through these kind of instances of not being able to find the zone or not being able to command inside of the zone. And so I do wonder if there's always going to be, like, he obviously has the ability, Peralta obviously has the ability to be an ace, be a top 5, 10 starter. I don't know that he's ever going to reach the level of consistency needed for that, because of those mechanics, and because of what makes him potentially so great. I could be wrong, and one day he does put it all together for a full season, and we get 150, 160 innings of just elite work. But I don't think the smart bet is to bet that is coming. I think
we kind of already got it. 2021, 144 innings of a 281, 097. That just might be Freddy Peralta's high water mark.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the command, like you said, in the mechanics, he's just going to have bouts of inconsistency. And that's why I wanted to highlight maybe not overreading into the second half, because a lot of times we see that as a harbinger for things to come. And I'm just not sure that that's the case.
And I worry about a guy who is small with his mechanics. Like, it's eerily reminiscent of like a Tim Lincecum, where all of a sudden he breaks down. And he's already dealt with injury issues previously. I just think there is a lot of boomer bust in Freddy Peralta, and I haven't seen where he's going in drafts.
55, two pitcher picks actually it's Freddy Peralta, Logan Gilbert, and then Grayson Rodriguez. So he's right in that Grayson Rodriguez price.
I mean, I think I'm taking Logan Gilbert. I think I'm taking Grayson Rodriguez. I think I'm taking Pablo, and then obviously I'm taking Pablo Lopez, Aaron Nola. I think he probably deserves to be in that group, but towards the bottom part of that group.
Okay, so maybe closer to Justin Steele. How far are you expanding that group?
Yeah, I think Steele should be above him.
Steele's at 79, so I get 25 pick discount to take Justin Steele over Freddy Peralta. I think
he's one of those guys, though, that like you could like wait on if you wanted to wait on getting your first starter and then pair him with Max Fried, and you get the stability of Fried and the upside of Peralta.
Well, the stability went healthy because Fried was.
Yeah, that's true.
Fried wasn't healthy this year, but I know what you mean in the skills. At the end. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and brilliant last year.
I'm
Max Fried.
probably not going to have a lot of Freddy Peralta.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Is this another even, but then slightly
Yeah.
pointing down sideways thumb for you? Like,
His
because of the
min pick
price.
is 57. So, I mean, his ADP is 55. His max, or his min pick is 53. His max is 57.
So he
Like, there
lives
is
in that
no
window.
range. Like, there is a 4-pick window in which you have, or a 5-pick window in which you have
That's
to
crazy.
take Freddy Peralta. So, I don't think that I'm ever going to take him in the back end of the 4th round. So,
Yeah.
I'm probably never getting him.
I don't think I'm ending up with Peralta. You know, if I'm going to go that high on somebody that I deem to have a gamble to him, but the upside as well, I'm probably just taking Scooble.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm taking a pitcher in the 4th round, it is probably Scooble, a closer, Yuri Perez, Logan Gilbert, like Pablo Lopez. Like, those are the guys that I'm taking.
So you're not taking our next guy. Perfect segue there. I don't even know if you realized that you're segueing. Because you go up a little bit higher there, you will see that Tyler Glasnow is pick 48. I know you're shaking your head no already.
Insane. Insanity.
Let me read the numbers. It is insane, but let me read the numbers. 4.10 ERA, 122 whip, 27% strikeout minus walk in the first half. Okay, Paul, that's pretty good. What are you talking about? 1.5 homer nights. So there's another homer fixing issue because then he put up a 3.22 ERA, 101 whip, 25% strikeout minus walk, and just a 0.7 homer 9 in the second half for Tyler Glasnow. Come on, man. We do this literally every offseason with Tyler Glasnow because he puts up some good innings that, you know, show you how great he can be, but then how much can we bet on it? I think this was a career high 120 innings this year.
125 if you include the postseason.
He gets, you know, one more season with Tampa Bay. He's going into his age 30 season. There's no way I can pay this price, right? I know you can't.
Yeah, no. I can't remember if it was you and me had the argument or me and someone else had the argument.
It's probably me. I love Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah, and there was this whole argument like, oh, they're going to take the reins off. They're going to take the reins off.
I don't know if I said that.
You know, they're gonna start. You know, he's at a point they've got to just start using him. And my argument remains the same: that they may want to take the reins off, but you can't. Like, if you take the reins off, like, he's probably going to break down. Like, he's never been able to pitch a full season. Like,
I might have suggested that he was going to pitch more this year, which, in fairness, he did. But I don't even know if I'm with you in that I don't think it's reins that they have on him. They just know what they have and that they can't push him, right? It's, you know, I don't know shit about cars, so bear with me, folks, but it's like, you know, some badass old sports car from the 60s that you just can't drive around every day, but you can maybe tool around in it every once in a while around the neighborhood.
He is a 1986 Camaro.
Sure.
That, like, yes, you love driving it. It reminds you of a better time.
It looks great.
But if you try to take that motherfucker over 90...
I think we found our comparison here.
Yeah.
Tyler Glasnow is a car. Okay.
Yeah.
A good looking car. Because
a lot of people are going to be like, yes, this looks great. And when I drive him around, but you can't take them that high.
I'm sorry, you can't. And again, I was the one advocating.
Talked about Carlos Rodon in the 12th and 13th round. Give me that all day.
100%. It's just 100% there because this is such a long history now of Tyler Glasnow not being able to get to even 100 innings consistently. 120 this year was his career high, folks. The last time he eclipsed 100 was 2018. Like, you can't. And I'm all for shooting the moon and you know, trying to get the big upside play. And you know, I always talk about how if health is the only piece that you need to come together, then take your guy or whatever. Not at pick 50 with Tyler Glasnow. That's not what I mean when I say that. That you can't. With all of these pitchers that we've named in this area going later,
your first or second pitcher, you should be caring more about the downside than you care about the upside. Like,
bingo.
Because you're going to lose guys to injuries anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So one, I invite a guy who's been injury prone his entire career on to that. But what you can't do, because you know you're going to lose guys to injuries, is take a bunch of guys with really low floors and stack them, especially early. You take those guys later.
You're just asking. Yeah. He's a later type guy. And for me, like with Glasnow, I would never expect him to go pick 200 or anything crazy like that. But even just pick 100 would still give people some pause, but I could at least get there. I could see pick 100. That's where Bobby Miller's going. He doesn't have any track record. Zach Eflin, Yoshinobu Yamamoto coming over from overseas.
Even pick 73 with Kodai Senga. Like, that's a really interesting argument. But when you're
25
telling me,
picks, that's almost 2 rounds later.
When you're telling me I can get Senga 2 rounds later, like, I'm going to take Senga.
Yeah, it's just, look, someone might eventually win on Glasnow, but you just keep pulling that lever and you're not seeing anything come up on those slots.
Your overall line is going to be much worse on a guy like Glasnow, in terms of the amount of seasons you missed before you finally made contact.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't think you get to go victory lap. And
that is a Galoian contact rate.
That it really is. It really is. A Galoian contact rate. Good old Joey Gallo. He has no idea how to make contact, but when he does, the rare times that he does, it goes wild. I mentioned this guy earlier because we had talked about him. I think his ADP was near Kikuchi's. Griffin Canning over in LA. They didn't get much run in the second half because things were falling apart over there. So you might have glossed over the fact that Griffin Canning was putting up some nice numbers down the stretch. He had a 4.62 ERA, 120 WHIP, 16% strikeout minus walk, and a 1.8 homer 9 in the first half. Then he goes 3.19. The WHIP was actually higher at 128, believe it or not, but an 8-point higher strikeout minus walk at 24%, and about a half a home run shaved off at 1.2 homers per 9. Actually, more than a half a home run. Really helped him have a big second half there. So Griffin Canning didn't exactly completely flip everything from first to second half and go off, but he got a lot tighter, a lot better, and was very useful down the stretch as a waiver pickup for people. Do you believe at all in Griffin Canning, who, by the way, is now going to be age 28? Feels like he was a baby just the other day, but he's been around since 19 now. He's going to be age 28 next year. You buying Griffin Canning at all after a nice second half?
I think I am. At 315, like, that feels like a pretty good spot for him.
Yep, I'm paying that price.
Yeah, I think that's a more than fair price, especially because you're looking at a max of 356. So I'm going to check the plot real quick and have that tell me. Yeah. So you've got 2 picks, like 339, 356, and then 2 picks, 248 is the outlier in there.
Yeah, the clear outlier for Griffin Canning's ADP. I think your draft pick with him is always going to start with a 3. Well, not always, because literally there's a 248.
Yeah.
But consistently going to start with a 3. So if you like him, you should be comfortable paying 3 something for Griffin Canning.
Yeah, I mean, he threw 127 innings, 53 in the second half, really lowered the home run rate. We've always known that Canning has talent. Injuries have been the question. Yep. And when you are taking a guy, past the 15th round, like you do with Canning, like, you're not expecting a lot of those guys to end up on your roster at the end of the season. So if he gets hurt, you cut him, you move on.
Yeah.
But I think he's actually going to be in the rotation, considering what that rotation looks like. And I think he is a pretty nice pick down there. So
yeah, I fully agree there.
I feel a little surprised in saying this because Canning is usually kind of some of the profile I don't love, a guy who can't stay healthy and has a bad home run rate. But, he made some adjustments in the second half to improve that home run rate, and he stayed healthy. So, and the price is cheap.
Yeah, the cheap price really helps. The 1.2 homer 9 in the second half, that would be a career best for him, right? So that I know that might not sound like a great improvement, folks, but it's 1.6 for his career. And so if he can just live in that like 0.9 to 1.2 range, somewhere in there, I think we could see a full-on breakout from Griffin Canning. There's a lot of talent there. I mentioned that Reed Detmers is down there too. Y'all know I can't quit him. So I'll take a couple Angels past pick 300.
Second half, a 30% walk rate, a 30% strikeout rate and a 6% walk rate.
That's fantastic. Like those are premium skills there from Griffin Canning. Let's stay in LA, or at least the LA area. I don't want to hear it from people. Technically, it's not. Shut the hell up. No one gives a shit. Let's talk about the Dodgers and put a little pep in your step and talk Ryan Pepiot. This is the part where, for like the 50th time this year, I got to give my boy Greg some credit. He was in on Pepiot's command gains early. When I was ringing the bell saying, dude, this dude has never not walked guys. I'm scared. I don't believe it. He said, I don't know, man. I've seen him a bit. I think there's some legitimacy here to the command improvements. Thankfully, I listened to Greg because I ended up picking up Pepiot. And that's what happens when you listen to somebody in the top 10 of the main event. Good things happen. And Pepiot absolutely went off. He has no first half to compare it to, but in the second half, 2.14 ERA, 0.76 whip, and a 21% strikeout minus walk rate for Pepiot. He just had a great little breakout here. He was not expected to be that guy. Bobby Miller, was well above him. Pepiot was a prospect, don't get me wrong, but there were other people concerned about the command as well, and he really improved it. Do you believe in it?
No, but yes. I love Pepiot, and I'm a little upset about the fact that he's going inside the top 200 because he's one of those guys that I would have loved to get outside the top 200.
Yeah.
Because you start looking at the names going around him with how deep starting pitching is to start the year, and
it's crazy, dude.
Name
some of those names.
Erod, Chris Sale, Andrew Abbott, Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, Lucas Giolito, Brian Wu, Nathan Eovaldi, Bryce Miller, Carlos Rodon.
There's so many names.
You could live in that area, like if you're doing an auction, and I may do an auction like this at some point where I go. It was kind of what I did this year, right? Like in Tout Wars, is like I didn't spend on higher end starting pitchers. I bought all of my guys from like the $10 tier. The
$10 bargain bin.
Yeah, like 10 to $5 to $10, and that'll land you on some Bradishes and some other guys. And, Sonny Gray was in that kind of bucket and stuff. So the thing with Pepiot is I don't think the command is good.
What? Before you say anything else, I should have said control, not command, because his control greatly improved, and that's also what Greg was talking about. The command was still an issue because I think you're going to highlight the 1-5 homer 9. So continue.
Yeah, and I mean he gave up 6 home runs in his last 4 starts, but he walked nobody. I mean, like legit 42 innings, he walked 5 guys. That's it. Like that is unreal control.
17% K rate in 36 major league innings last year for Pepiot too. So keep that in mind. That improvement is colossal.
Yeah, and so like he kind of took the Robbie Ray route. Like, hey, I'm going to give up some bombs, but I'm going to fill up the zone because I don't think you're going to beat me as much as I'm going to beat you. And it really worked.
He's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and now you've got the Dodgers offense behind him, which could get better.
Oh yeah.
Shohei in the middle of that lineup, it's going to be really nice.
Almost certainly going to have Shohei in the middle of that lineup. Yeah, and by the way,
bullpen could get better too. Like I think the bullpen is the place where the Dodgers really need to address things.
I agree. They're going to get their pitching depth back this year too. I agree, and I think they'll have some legit starters in their bullpen ready to go. With Pepiot and that command versus control, usually the first step to truly improving your command though is this, just filling the zone, getting used to being able to just throw in the zone and trust your stuff. Next year, we could see the command improve to where, okay, now he's spotting it better in the zone, not giving up those home runs, and then he's deadly. Then you're in deep shit as the opposition with Pepiot there. But even if not, even if the home runs kind of remain, like you said, a little Robbie Ray figure there from the right side for Ryan Pepiot, I'm interested. And yes, the price, I was hoping it was outside 200 as well, but I understand why it's just inside there at pick 196, and you named a bunch of interesting guys going around him. I will be picking from that group, and sometimes I'll pick Erod and Hunter Brown, and other times I'll pick Pepiot and Brian Wu. And I'll even probably jump back on the Christian Javier train just to see what that's like too. So that's a really, really fascinating group in that 180 to 215, 220 range there that you were highlighting.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. let's move on to our next guy. He had a fantastic close to the year. This is, we talk about league winner and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if Michael King helped people win some leagues down the stretch, because out of nowhere, he starts, he gets into the rotation and just starts crushing. He was absolutely incredible. So I don't really have a first, second half comparison because, again, he was a reliever in the first half. Who cares? As a starter, 2.23 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, and a 26% strikeout minus walk for Michael King. And I think we talked about this before, because this isn't the first time we've spoken about him and his ascent. They've tried this before. They've tried to kind of get him going as a starter. By the way, this was 40 innings, 9 starts. Is it finally here? Are we ready to say Michael King is going to be a full-time starter now? Do you believe in Michael King?
I mean, I do. Like, I think Michael King is Jeffrey Springs, right? Like, I think he's just an older guy that they believe in and move him into the rotation, and he's fantastic. Like, there's no discount, though. Like, no discount.
Pick
like
150.
Pick 150. Going right above Walker Buehler, above two of my favorite guys in Jordan Montgomery and Braxton Garrett. Like, it's going to be really hard for me to get a lot of Michael King, because I think the price is only going to go up, and all of a sudden he's going to move into that 130 area around Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, Gavin Williams, Cole Reagans. And I don't know that I can take him there.
When we discussed King on the October 9th episode, that was in the context of him being a top 50 starter and how great he was relative to his ADP. We didn't know where he was going to be going. So I think we spoke pretty well of him, hoping that he'd be closer to a late 100s pick, maybe even to the 200s. But the market's saying, no, we saw this too. We believe in this. And you're right. I think he only goes up from here, not down. And so if you're talking 130s, I can't get there either. I don't think with Michael King. So I respect the talent. I think there's a lot to like here. I think I'm just always going to be leaning toward other guys, including our boy Cole Reagans. So, I'll probably do a further deep dive on King in the winter sometime. But I definitely can't pay that price as it stands right now. And our last guy, definitely a waiver pickup, because I think everyone who drafted him had cut this guy. He was just blasting your ERA and WHIP in the first half. Graham Ashcraft, 6.28 ERA, 174 WHIP, and a 7% strikeout minus walk. Where was all of his spring training goodness and this nasty new stuff that he had in a deeper arsenal? Well, it just took some time to get there. In the second half, 2.81 ERA, 109 WHIP, only a 13% strikeout minus walk, which still isn't great. But the bottom line is, it just looks like Graham Ashcraft is never going to be missing bats at a major clip, despite throwing upper 90s, sometimes low 100s. But it's with a sinker, and those sinkers just don't usually miss bats. And so he has to win via, cheap ground balls and things like that. Do you believe in the Ashcraft turnaround here?
I believe he is better than we thought he was prior to 2023. I don't think he's nearly this good. I do think there are going to be struggles. I think when you give up as much contact as he does, like there's always going to, and you're still, I know he's a ground ball guy and that helps limit the damage in Cincinnati, but there's always going to be problems in Cincinnati. That being said, and I'm like checking what his price is before I make this comment. Yeah, he's going 376. Give me that all day.
Cheap. I thought there'd be a jump in price based on the second half, but
he's bet going right in front of Zach Littell. Like,
come on,
what?
I'm taking my shot with Ashcraft there.
Like, Andrew Heaney is going above him.
How dare you besmirch
Andrew Heaney,
a former lover of yours?
I'm going to get a lot of Andrew Heaney with him going out almost outside the top 400.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have Andrew Heaney on every team.
How could you not? So looking at Ashcraft, it's a 10% strikeout
World Series champion, Andrew Heaney.
Not yet. Relax. Like I said, I don't have a heavy lean. I like the Texas team. Like, I follow both Texas teams.
I want it to go 7. Is honestly
that's what I'm saying. That's all I want.
For.
Who are you?
I want to be able to
7 is my answer.
I am rooting to watch the World Series with
my baseball friends,
Arizona. Yep. Yeah, that's
exactly what I want. Sorry, I got itchy back here today. Got my back scratcher handy.
Those
But
back
yeah,
scratchers are amazing. I love those things.
seriously, like I always talk about how I
had
have two back
exact same
scratchers with
one.
me,
Yeah.
like with my long arms, but this is just so much better. Oh, it's amazing. Anyway,
Yeah.
Ashcraft, 10% strikeout, swinging strike rate. That's so lame for how nasty his stuff can look. But again, sinkers don't usually miss bats. So I just think right now that his strikeout rate is capped. That said, at pick 376, I don't give a shit. I'm taking that shot. So
Yeah,
I
because you
am
can
in on
drop
Graham
him
Ashcraft.
really, really easily.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the schedule yet. That's something I'm going to look at because I think he's one of those guys that he'll remind me a lot. He may, depending on what their early season schedule is, he may remind me of a guy like that, like Mackenzie Gore or Josiah Gray, where like their schedule to start the season is really tough. And I may want to just let someone else draft him and then pick him up after.
Pick him up after he gets cut again.
Yeah, so because I think he's one of those guys. I mean, he was one of those guys this year, right? Like,
yeah,
everybody who drafted him, they got none of the goodness.
No,
yeah, unless you're a draft and hold.
Absolutely blasted him off their roster. Oh, you know what's
But
funny?
he then saved the season for me because I picked him up right as he was starting to get hot, and I rode him all the way until I had to drop him because of injury in September. So,
that's right. He was out after September. That's a good call. I forgot to bring that up, by the way. September 1st, his season was over for Graham Ashcraft. You know what's really funny? He actually had a 2.10 ERA in April. So the people that had him were probably like, oh, this is working out. I got this guy. He's
and
great.
Then you got blasted.
And then you got obliterated from May into early June for whenever you decided to cut him, because then he goes 8, 3, 7, 7, 3, 10, 3, and 6 earned runs. And you might have avoided some of those, but not too many of them. And that's when Graham Ashcraft was getting on every waiver wire. But then from June 30th on, did not allow more than 3 earned in a single start and only allowed 3 4 different times. So it was a crazy finish.
If you just do July to August, right? So 2 straight actual months, he had a 2.70 ERA. Sub 7 strikeouts per 9, so not a ton. But what do you think his Sierra was?
Well, because of the lack of strikeouts, I'm going to say like 380.
459.
Damn, I sold it short because he was still allowing some homers too, right?
In a 90% strand rate.
Oh, wow.
He got really lucky right this.
Okay. So maybe this price makes more sense as we're kind of uncovering further with that.
But I'll take the
we're
gamble
still in
on it.
Yes. I want to be clear. We are still in
he's
here.
Win a lot of games. He's really, he showed some growth. It was a lot of luck, sure, but like you need luck to win in fantasy baseball. And it's like I said, if he sucks, then you drop him and you move on. Like,
and what if we just start him on the road in like a draft Champions League? 368 ERA on the road, 560 at home last year.
Maybe we just their schedule.
Yeah, maybe we just avoid home with Graham Ashcraft. And frankly, that might even be the case with all their starters. Even the upper tier ones like Lodolo and Green that people still love.
Yeah.
Did they start at home early for the Reds here? By the way, you mentioned Ranger Suarez. He's going pick 396, even cheaper than Robert Suarez. Yeah, you thought he was going to be higher when you said that earlier. When you're like, oh, that's Robert Suarez.
Assumed.
He's pick 396, Ranger Suarez. Wow, the disrespect, the absolute disrespect.
Oh my God, I am going to have so much Ranger Suarez. I mean, not that I think we all knew I was going to have a lot of Ranger Suarez, but
now you won't be overpaying for him, is what you're saying.
Okay, so let's. Oh wait, that's I gotta.
Is that this year's schedule?
Yeah, I got this year's schedule. They start home versus the Nationals. Then they're at the Phillies. They've got a lot of home starts, and
that's scary. Then, so the reason you're looking this up for Graham Ashcraft's schedule is the notion that you let people draft him and then cut him. Now, obviously, these early leagues are draft champions, so they're going to have him all year. But if you get into something that is a waiver league and someone takes Graham Ashcraft from you, he might get rocked early and get cut again.
They have 3 home series and 3 away series in their first 6, right? So even.
Okay.
But let me tell you where those 3 away series
Yeah,
are.
that's going to be very important.
At Philadelphia, not a good place to
Don't
pitch.
love that.
At Chicago White Sox, not a good
Not a
place
huge
to pitch.
fan of that.
And 1, 2 at Seattle.
Okay, that's
Good place to pitch, but bad team to pitch.
I was going to say, yeah, tough team, but not a bad spot to pitch. So paired with 3 home starts potentially there for Ashcraft. Again, if you miss out, just keep track of your waiver wire because he could end up getting cut early
home
again.
versus the Nationals,
which I would probably run him for. I'd run Ashcraft there. I'd run Lodolo and Green. I'm going to run my guys there.
The question is he part of the top part of that rotation with Lodolo, Green, or does
Brandon Williamson's second half breakout?
Wait, and Andrew Abbott. So like,
oh yeah. So he's not even going to make that national start.
So his first start would be at the Phillies and then home versus the Brewers.
I don't love that.
Yeah,
that scares me a bit.
I don't love that either.
I'm thinking Green, Lodolo, Abbott is the top 3.
That's what I would think too. If they're all healthy.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But but again, bottom line, despite us poking some holes there, we're still taking Graham Ashcraft at 376.
He might actually be the 5th starter.
Yes, because Williamson was awesome.
Yeah, and Williams is a lefty, so you can go righty, lefty.
Yep.
So he's either the 3rd or the 5th starter. It's him or Abbott.
Yeah, I think. Well, you're talking 3 lefties now with Abbott.
Oh,
Williamson,
that's right.
Dolo.
So maybe
you could go
LR.
LR.
So maybe he's the 4th starter because he's definitely not above Green,
if they care to do that, though, they might just go talent and prestige and go Green, Lodolo, Abbott, Williamson, Ashcraft.
Yeah, they could.
So we'll see. And again, like you said, who's healthy? That's going to be the biggest question out of these 5. So anyway, those are 10 guys. We got some mixed feelings about them. We're up on Ashcraft. That's a double thumbs up. King was probably a double thumbs down because the price is just too high. Pepiot, we felt pretty good about. Canning, pretty good about. Glasnow, double thumbs down because of his price. Peralta, leaning down because of his price, but we respect the talent.
Yep.
Leaning down on Kikuchi, double thumbs up on Bradish, double thumbs down on Grayson simply because of the price. Right? Or thumb sideways, leaning down. Maybe not all the way down.
Grayson?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think all the way down because he's picked 58.
No, I think I'm in the middle, pointing a little bit down.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, there's a world where I take a Grayson pick.
Yeah,
but there's never a world where I take Tyler Glasnow.
If I leave draft season without a Grayson Rodriguez share, I'm gonna be upset.
That's fair. Okay, so then maybe even just neutral, maybe leaning up then, if you're gonna at least take one.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say thumb up, thumb sideways, leaning up.
Because I do think there is an outcome where he's a top 5 pitcher this year.
Totally agree that's in the cards. That's
like
possible
if he's this year,
for Grayson.
Shane McClanahan, like that's not. Like, I don't want to miss that necessarily.
I just wish he wasn't so expensive. Hey, rest of the market, stop being sharp on guys. I hate that shit, okay? Don't be sharp on the guys I want.
Yes.
Hate those guys and let me get involved. And then Nick Pivetta, we were fine on him, right?
Yeah.
Or no, I was leaning up, you were leaning down.
Yeah, I'm leaning down.
But we were both sideways. We were both kind of neutral. Slight up for me, slight down for you. Nothing.
It depends. I mean, that'll be a draft decision.
Yes, 100%. Because the room is going to, we said with Pivetta and Kikuchi, the room is going to often determine the price. If there's one lover out there that's just going to pump them up 50 picks above ADP, we let that person have them. But most rooms are probably going to be closer to us.
And if you've listened this long, I probably should have put this. Yes, thank you. I probably should have put this disclaimer at the beginning. All of this could change based on once I do my projections. Like, I have not even touched my pitching projections.
Yep.
Like, I could run my pitching projections, and all of a sudden, a guy like Grayson Rodriguez is completely off my board.
Or you're drafting him everywhere because he's your 23rd ranked pitcher or something. It could go the other way.
Yeah.
It could go the other way.
Yeah. Or a guy like, Kikuchi could all of a sudden just for some reason when I do my projections, I can't imagine this is gonna because I'm not a guy like, Jeff Zimmerman or Derek Hardy where it's like, I'm keeping all of my emotion and thoughts out of it. I'm just running numbers. And so for me, like obviously my thoughts and beliefs that are already, preconceived are, plugged into those numbers.
They're gonna play a role there.
There were
some of our
guys last year where when I ran the projections, I went, oh shit, I like this guy a lot more than I thought I did.
Well, I think part of it,
this guy a lot more than I thought I did. And I feel like my projections bear some pretty good fruit this last year.
Absolutely. You had an amazing season. And a lot of that is we think we have a notion of what somebody's line will rate. We're like, oh, he's a 4.10 ERA, a 1.15 whip, and a strikeout per inning. I probably wouldn't take him. And then you plug that in, you're like, that's actually 70 picks higher than I thought it would be. And so it's just kind of cutting that disconnect of what you think a line would generate versus what it actually generates in a projection system. And that's what the value of that exercise was for the two of us, going by hand and doing our projections. Like Zimmerman, Cardi, like you said, they got systems. They remove that emotion out of it. They don't think about, oh, this guy burned me the last 3 years, so I'm going to put an extra few homers on him or something like that. No, I tried to stick to the letter of the numbers that I had generated, but some of my bias crept in without a doubt. But anyway, interesting group of guys. Definitely going to be pitching is going to be a lot of fun to see how it evolves over the fall, winter, and into the spring, because there are so many names. Just all those guys we read off in that Carlos Rodon area there going that late was crazy. And then you see somebody like Grayson Rodriguez have a good second half and jump up to the 21st pitcher off the board. That includes closers, by the way. So yeah, absolutely insane. Going to be a lot of fun. Justin, I can't wait to see you in less than a week.
Yeah. Can't wait. I'll be there Wednesday.
All right. I'll talk to you later then.
Take it easy.